or good evening, depending on when in the world you are zooming in from. We will just wait a couple of minutes and then we will start with our webinar.
You're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. I see that people are joining. We will still wait just a couple of minutes, and then we will start with our webinar. Thank you, and great to have you here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining and welcome to this Hyperledger In-depth member webinar with IntellectEU. We will just wait a couple of more minutes so more people can join and then we will start. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Hyperledger In-depth member webinar with IntellectEU on how to avoid the worst mistakes when creating or managing your Hyperledger Fabric network. We're very excited about this webinar and welcome to everybody. My name is Tomáš Sedej and I'm an ecosystem manager at the Hyperledger Foundation and I will be hosting this show today. I will introduce our panelists very briefly, but first let us start off with some housekeeping crew. So first off, all are welcome in our community. We are committed to creating a safe and welcoming environment for everybody. So please follow our code of conduct when interacting with each other during the call or also in the community more broadly. You can find our code of conduct on our website and also on our wiki. Here at the Hyperledger Foundation, we follow the Linux Foundation antitrust policy. And you can also review this antitrust policy both on our wiki and on our website. This session is being recorded live and it will be available in our Hyperledger library. Along with the slides. So you're very welcome to download it later and review the slides and to get, like if you want to refresh the information shared today, you are very welcome to do it. This meeting is also live streamed on YouTube. So welcome to everybody joining us live there. So we always encourage for these webinars to be as interactive as possible because we all believe that you will get the most out of it as well. Right, so feel free to raise your hand by using the raise your hand button to get unmuted and to speak up. And the more participation we have, the better experience will there be for everybody and more you will be able to learn. If you don't feel comfortable speaking up, feel free to use the Q&A box or the chat. And just in case that any of your questions would not get answered, you are very welcome to post it on our Discord channel, which we will share in a chat in just a moment. So again, feel free to talk, to communicate and ask questions to our panelists, and we will be happy to answer them. Now, without further ado, I'm happy to introduce our panelists. Which is Jana Kodra, the head of product management at IntellectEU, and Vladislav Koparodorowski, which is a technical lead at the IntellectEU. and we'll be doing the portion of the Q&A sessions later. So without further ado, Jana, over to you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. And good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Jana, leading products at IntellectEU. Super inspired by profiles. I looked through some registrant profiles yesterday before the meeting, so I strongly encourage you to interrupt me whenever you think you have questions or comments to share. I will appreciate it. And today we are going to discuss the topic mistakes to avoid when using Hyperledger Fabric for your projects. And this conversation will be divided into parts. During the first part, I will cover the topic from the business perspective. I will speak about mistakes to avoid by program and product managers before starting Hyperledger Fabric projects. And during the second part, our technical lead, Vlad Kapaj-Gorodsky, will hold a Q&A session to answer your technical questions. So if you have technical questions, please prepare. My part of presentation will take probably up to 25 minutes. So after that, you will be able to participate in a real conversation. I will add a little bit to the introduction of Vlad. So Vlad is not only the technical lead of our flagship product, the Catalyst blockchain platform, but also several years ago, he launched an R&D unit within IntellectEU with an idea to create a management solution for Hyperledger Fabric to make it easier to manage, scale, and deploy Fabric. And after several years, it's a product, it's a large team, and our clients not only using the product for their POCs, but actually for running projects in production. So if you have real life issues, Vlad is definitely a go-to person for a solution. I will briefly cover what our team worked on during the last 6 years. To explain how we did learn our to-dos and don'ts when using Hyperledger Fabric. So at IntellectEU, the next slide, please. So at IntellectEU, and the next one, thank you. We knew very early that we are going to live in the tokenized world covered by blockchain networks. So we started quite early, from 2014. We had an R&D team working primarily on POCs, providing trainings and educational programs for clients. We have experimented with Ethereum, Corda. We, by the way, was one of the organizations, first of the organization that integrated into the Ripple mainnet. And in 2016, we became one of the founding members of a Hyperledger organization under Linux Foundation. This is a vibrant community, and we had many opportunities being part of it, so we do appreciate it. So based on our extensive experience of delivering many Hyperledger and other blockchain-based projects for clients, we gained a lot of experience and lessons about hurdles that we need to overcome to make it more effective, faster, and of a higher quality. So we created a product first for ourselves, the management solution for the Hyperledger Fabric. And it actually grew into the enterprise-grade product. So on the next slide, I will just quickly cover what Catalyst blockchain platform does. The next one is about our features. So Hyperledger Fabrics actually helps you to achieve what is achievable without it in several months. With Catalyst blockchain platform, you can do it in up to 20-30 minutes. It helps you to deploy your networks, manage your networks, scale your network through user interface. And if you prefer to use API, you can use API. We also built enterprise-grade features, and the next slide, please. Enterprise features on top of the open source. And by enterprise features, I mean features related to the security, to the reliability and monitoring, and many others. On top of that, with Catalyst blockchain platform, you can run your Hyperledger Fabric networks using any infrastructure of your choice. It's absolutely cloud agnostic. You can also use on-prem if you want to cover all the cases. I would also like to very shortly speak about some use cases for Catalyst blockchain platform that we have executed. Some of them are in progress, based on which we have gained most of our recent experience. So one of the interesting projects is programmable money project. Today, in banking world, programmable payments are limited to credit transfer and direct debits, basically. So our clients are looking into how to add value through the blockchain technology to bring increasing functionalities for programmable money. KYC platform for banks. So as you probably know your customer procedures are very time-consuming, labor-heavy, and expensive. And the requirements, anti-money laundering requirements are becoming increasingly strict. So banks need to collaborate in order to share KYC data that they actually need to keep up to date all the time. And since corporates often use and have accounts in different banks, it makes a lot of sense, not only from the perspective of the cost cutting and optimization, but also from the perspective of user experience. Inventory management and invoicing platform, also very interesting use case where our clients built a platform to simplify inventory management of the telecommunication assets through tokenization, and also simplifies and streamline the invoicing process on the platform. Then investment platform that connects product providers and collective investment schema managers that provides transaction flow between their trade environments. And this platform covers all types of transactions, price information, income distribution, distribution of fund certificates, and underlying holdings. And there are many more interesting use cases. I just don't want to take too much time, just for you to understand what kind of projects we've been working with and where are we taking our ideas about how to optimize the usage of Hyperledger Fabric are coming from. So let's start from the first mistake to avoid. And please do not think that it's very obvious and high level. I really wanted to start with this one, even though it looks simple, but in reality, it's not. So the most common mistake is not providing sufficient Hyperledger Fabric knowledge to your team. And we see this with many clients, with many organizations when starting Hyperledger Fabric projects. It really makes sense to provide an extensive, like 4 or 5 day training for your team on Hyperledger Fabric, including your management team, your technical team, and your partners. And this will help you save a lot of time in the future, will help you to manage expectations of different team members, and also to avoid shift of your deliverables on the timeline. So what we usually do, and actually our clients that do not do this from the beginning, they eventually do this with us a little bit later. We provide a session on Hyperledger Fabric key concepts, as well as on how to use Catalyst blockchain platform. And also we do a workshop to discuss and understand what would be the optimal setup and deployment for the client-specific use case. The same applies to the partners of our clients, because usually Hyperledger Fabric consortiums are led by certain organization. And those organization leaders, they hold all the Hyperledger knowledge within the consortium, and they need to have mechanisms to share this knowledge with other participants. So we also recommend to provide sufficient training and knowledge to the partners within the consortium so they can easily participate on the network and do it efficiently. The next mistake to avoid is setting unreasonable performance expectations. So most clients ask about Hyperledger Fabric performance during the Catalyst blockchain platform introduction, or during the first or second sessions. This is a very popular topic to discuss. You can have fun reading dozens of articles online on blockchain performances. If clients are on the early stage, they sometimes consider like using blockchain overall, so they might compare it to the distributed databases, and of course later show better performance than the first. But of course, comparison is the result of certain misconception. So first question that we ask our clients, what kind of performance parameters are important for you? Is it latency? Is it throughput? Is it scalability? Some clients are concentrated on the throughput. However, we have seen that even for most demanding use cases, 500 or up to 1,000 transactions per second is enough. In finance, clients quite often prioritize latency over throughput. So we know that Hyperledger Fabric actually outperforms many other blockchain protocols in both those parameters, and especially in their combination. So in addition, using proper design in Hyperledger Fabric, when you scale and your network, you can achieve minimal implications on other performance parameters. However, it's really important to find balance between understanding how you want to improve your throughput and how it correlates with your compute, networking, and storage. So if you want to increase the number of transactions per second, you also need to understand that you will need to have faster execution of transaction processing. In terms of networking, we will need faster peer-to-peer networking. And in terms of storage, of course, you will need to have speed up access to the storage, and your storage will grow faster. So whatever we want to achieve in terms of performance, we should always understand which performance parameters are the highest priority for you. The third mistake to avoid is my favorite one, because I hear these questions basically from every potential client. So mistake is believing that interoperability is actually possible. So at the moment, interoperability between different blockchain protocols is not possible. There are different researches and different products that are trying to achieve certain level of data exchange between blockchain platforms. However, when we speak about interoperability between different platforms built on different protocols, we expect to see shared data, we expect to see seamless transactions across networks, and we expect to have possibility to share and exchange tokens across those networks. But different protocols speak different languages, and smart contracts usage is different on various platforms. Moreover, there are different consensus mechanisms, data structures, data processes, is all different. And each platform is tailored for a specific set of use cases with specific features. So all of this prevents transferring data and even more sharing or exchanging tokens between or across these networks, and it makes it very difficult or impossible. However, clients are trying to be visionary and think like long-term, like we all expect at some point for different like blockchains to be interoperable and live in the interoperable world rather than separate small networks here and there. So for clients that are really looking long-term and thinking about how they're going to maybe migrate to some other like updated blockchain protocols, etc., we do provide an opportunity to use DAML on Fabric. So within Catalyst blockchain platform, we support digital asset modeling language, the language that was specifically designed for smart contracts. And with the DAML, you can build your smart contract once and you can use it anywhere, basically on any blockchain protocol or even proprietary database. And DAML apps are atomically interconnected. So within Catalyst blockchain platform, in this way, we provide clients with the possibility to create a second layer on top of the blockchain network and to make it easier to migrate or easy to interoperate. Of course, with some reduction in functionality of the Hyperledger itself. Next mistake is to not prepare instruments for your consortium to grow quickly. The very typical start of the blockchain project is a solo POC. When one organization comes up with a business model and wants to create a network and a use case and start to play around with several nodes, hoping that in the future it will be able to provide value for the partners and clients, and they will onboard more organization. But as one of our potential clients shared with me last week, every time he tries to engage organizations in the network to invite them, there are two options. So either organization has technical capacity to do that, but does want to create the network of its own, or doesn't have technical capacity to join the network, although is willing to join the network and participate in the use case. And this is not a trivial task to grow your network. So we were thinking about how can we help our clients to provide their clients with easier options for onboarding. So we have created a white label solution, the white label management system, where partners and clients of our clients can simply log in and create themselves a Hyperledger Fabric service, or maybe use the node, like multi-tenant node, because we see that those consortium leaders are actually managers and creators of infrastructure anyways. So this is something that we suggest our clients to do, to think about how they are going to grow their networks and what they are going to offer their clients, understanding that technical capacity is a limitation for sure for growing the blockchain network. And the last mistake that I wanted to discuss is relying on off-chain governance. So anyone who actually did run Hyperledger Fabric projects know how difficult it is to execute off-chain governance. And to avoid this, we need to have a voting system. So I will quickly share how we do this within Catalyst blockchain platform. So for example, you want to onboard an organization to a channel. So in order to do this through the Catalyst voting system, you simply go to the channel tab, you click add organization, you select an organization from the list of your partnering organization, you specify the ordering node, the previous slide. So you specify parameters, the ordering node from the system channel and permissions, endorses, reader, writer, admin, and you click add. And at this point, the organization was not added to a channel. Instead, the proposal was created. After this, and on the next slide, you will see this through the eyes of other organizations. So in other organizations that participate on the channel, they will need to go to the channel sections, click on proposal section, and then they will see that they're pending proposal to add an organization to a channel that they are about to approve or not approve. So before all organizations, depending on your policy, will approve adding this organization to a channel, it cannot be added. And this helps to manage your network on chain. Those are some mistakes that I wanted to share with you today. I will be happy to answer your questions if you have some so far. And if not, I will be happy to give stage to Vlad to take your questions.
Thank you very much, Jana. That was a very interesting presentation and very relevant topics and to discussion what to avoid when deploying the Hyperledger Fabric. Now we do have some questions, and I do see that Moshin has raised his hand. So just a second, I will unmute you. Talk. So Moshin, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question to Vlad.
Hi, Vlad. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Thanks, Vlad. It was a very good session we had. Thanks for that. Just got a quick question wherein a concern, or rather an observation which was shared regarding adoption of Hyperledger Fabric. Although if one organization adopt it, it becomes very vital and important for other organization also to chip in. So in that mean, do we have any technical certification that we can look out for? By doing so, we can enable the technical capabilities, and at large, it would be multi-organization, so that even the the partner organization feel comfortable by doing that certification and then joining in by elevating their technical skills. Thanks.
Can you a bit clarify your question? I mean, like you're saying that at the beginning you had a single organization, right? And then you were saying that there are others that are willing to join through some certification process. What do you mean with certification process? Because I didn't understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if we have Hyperledger in our organization, and if we are inviting the next organization or our partners to join in, and since they don't have capabilities, the technical capabilities, can we then not recommend them to go through a technical course on Hyperledger, which will enable them to then feel comfortable and then join in, and likewise the chain would grow?
Okay, I got it. So basically, you have a partner that does not know Hyperledger Fabric and is willing to join. Am I right?
That's right.
Okay, so as Jana said, the best practice is to share Hyperledger Fabric knowledge between all participants. Because in order to manage a network, in order to maintain an organization, anyway, you need to know Hyperledger Fabric. But there are possible use cases that we implemented, meaning that organizations that is joining only using MSP ID. Basically, it's a bunch of certificates, but all infrastructure is hosted by someone else. So our ordering service is hosted by someone else. Peers can be hosted by someone else. So that organization that is joining and does not have capability can join a network just with an MSP ID. And they can also connect their applications and invoke transactions on behalf of that MSP ID. But somebody else needs to host infrastructure for others, I would say. So yeah, it's possible, and it's a popular use case, I would say, because I hear a lot that there are some companies that have huge teams of DevOps, they can host anything, but also there are other small ones that basically don't have enough resources and they are willing to join, and they're believing like that in future they will have some resources, but they want to join now. So what to do? What we propose is to either use a ready-to-ship, like out-of-the-box solution, like CatBP or any other on the cloud. That's the first option. The second option is to ask somebody to host nodes for you. Important that you are not obliged to host orderers, because ordering service should be hosted only by trusted partners. And basically, you don't even need peers. If you have like different MSP ID, you can invoke your transaction using peers of somebody else. Of course, it depends on endorsement policy, but for most use cases, it's fine. So I think there are possibilities, yes, but you need to do trade-offs, right? So you don't have enough resources, delegate it to somebody else and wait until you have enough. But the best practice, again, is to transfer Hyperledger Fabric knowledge and allow all organizations to host their nodes and to be a consortium fully decentralized. Only in that way, it's a true setup of Hyperledger Fabric, from my perspective, of course.
Right. Just a follow-up question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but is there any Linux Foundation affiliated Hyperledger certification as well, just for my knowledge?
Oh, you mean certification process like an exam for a certificate?
That's right.
Yes, there are like two types of certification programs within Linux Foundation for administrator and developer that you can take and become a certified Hyperledger Fabric developer or admin.
Perfect. Bang on. Thank you very much. You made my day.
Thank you for your question, Moshin. And we'll share the certification information also in the chat. We have some other questions here. Lisa, would you like to come off mute?
It's a very interesting one, I see.
Yeah, if not, Vlad, will you answer the question from Lisa?
Yeah, so it's a very often asked question about disaster recovery mechanism. And when we are talking about disaster recovery of Hyperledger Fabric, we need to understand and we need to know that it's a distributed system. So I always tell people, instead of building like bulletproof disaster recovery mechanism, make sure you have a good consortium, a good enough consortium, that you have enough ordering nodes that are shared among trusted partners. And if half of those partners go down, you still have quorum. So that's the first important note. Always make sure you have a good consortium and that is deployed across multiple clouds, multiple infrastructures. That's the first thing. Second thing, disaster recovery, can go through backup and restoration process. So Hyperledger Fabric has possibility to back up a node and restore it from a backup. There are some limitations though for peers and for orderers, because if you restore, for example, a node from a higher block, I would say, then so if there is some disagreement between nodes, your network may fail after restoration from a backup. So that's the only two options, I would say. Just backup and restore from a backup and restore not from a backup, and having good enough consortium, making sure that at any point of time, if one organization disconnects, you still have a quorum of ordering service. That's the most important thing. You don't need to care about peers, I would say. You don't need to care about CAs. The most important part of Hyperledger Fabric is ordering service. And as long as ordering service lives, you can continue joining new peers and executing transactions. Also, in CatVP, we propose to our customers that are using enterprise package to share an organization across multiple regions, meaning across multiple clusters. So as a user, you have a single MSP ID that can be shared across two clusters. And in each cluster, you would have like a few peers if you are hosting orders, a few orders if you are hosting them, and also a few peers, like 2 on region 1 and 2 on region 2. And at any point of time, if your one region fails, you can easily switch router to the second cluster that is up and running and continue accepting transactions, invoking them, and so on. So to summarize, first of all, good enough quorum. Second of all, having backup and functionality, so you'll be able to back up a node and restore it. And the third is possibility to deploy across multiple regions, though the last one is expensive usually, and not all customers decide to go with that. So it really depends on your resources and requirements, I would say. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vlad. We also have a raised hand, and it's James that wants to ask you a question. So James, please feel free to unmute yourself and just go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. Vladislav, what kind of certificate authority architecture would you recommend for a consortium of banks, for example, in a KYC use case?
It depends on your consortium, but usually, of course, it's one root CA that is public usually. Then there is a private CA of company, like of a consortium company, for example. And then I would say, suggest to use on the third level is Hyperledger Fabric CA as an intermediate, of course. So you have 3 CAs. The first one, which is public. The second one, it's private, that belongs to a company that is holding consortium. And the third one is the lowest level, is Hyperledger Fabric CA, because it's the most easier way to manage Hyperledger Fabric identities with Hyperledger Fabric CA, I would say. Of course, you're not obliged to use Hyperledger Fabric CA if you don't like. I heard a lot from security enterprise consultants that they don't like it for various reasons, mostly for security. And we have successful cases that customers use their own CAs, and Fabric works with it without like any problems. Did I answer your question, or do you want something to clarify?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. No, that was fine. Thank you. Thanks.
Also, take a look, please, at HashiCorp Vault running as CA. So it's a very, I would say it's a secure way to launch your own CA on your own infrastructure. And also Hyperledger Fabric, you can integrate it with HashiCorp Vault to store all the identities. And there's even possibility, if you know what to do, to store to use transient engine of HashiCorp Vault and to store all private keys only in HashiCorp Vault, so they never leave the storage. It's like using HSM, but the cheaper way with HashiCorp Vault. And again, HashiCorp Vault can be used as CA as well. That's interesting topic for research, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
What I want to go back to the previous question from Lisa, because I didn't answer her question about how much can creating a service copies of data increase the speed of node creation. So yes, regarding that, when you're doing a backup, you're basically packing all the data, like all your ledger, into archive, and then it's really saves you a lot of time if you have a huge ledger instead of starting a peer from scratch from block number 1. So yes, that's definitely a case for disaster recovery, because we have networks with like a few million blocks, and starting a peer from block number 1 could take, I would say, a day. It depends, of course, on your performance, but yes, it increases your speed a lot. Also, take a look at snapshot functionality of a peers. There is functionality that allows you to start a peer from a snapshot. You won't be able to query previous blocks, but you will have the needed world state. I hope I answered your question.
Great. Thank you, Vlad. And we have a question from David Grump as well. And David, would you like to come off mute and ask? Otherwise, Vlad, if you don't mind, would you mind continuing with the Q&A?
Yes. Give me please 30 seconds. I need to understand that question about self-endorsing a transaction. So the question basically, can you remove a peer from a transaction flow, if I'm not mistaken? Just go directly, like form a proposal, go directly to order and commit it. To tell the truth, I've never done it, but I think it's possible if you have access to peers keys, to peers crypto materials, because proposals needs to be signed on behalf of them, if I'm not mistaken. But in general, if you can form a proposal and send it to order, and order accepts it, yes, why not? But no, I'm sorry. So there's a lot going on, and especially when you have private collection, for example, this case isn't possible, because private collection is stored on a peer during transaction flow, and you won't be able to modify or send your private collection information to order, because order does not know anything about private data. So I think it really depends on a use case. Somehow it's possible to mischief it, but to tell the truth, I never tried. You can follow up me on an email, and if you're really interested in this question, you can talk about it. I think also I'm in a Discord chat, so we can talk there. It's an interesting use case, and I've never thought about it. So, yeah, that's everything I can say. Sorry.
Thomas, I also noted there are some questions in the chat as well, and some of them are follow-up questions for the DR topic as well. Just to understand how we are going to prioritize them. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, so we also have questions in the chat, and thank you for pointing it out, Jana. So Kiran asks, is the DR process, is it manual or is it automated?
If you're asking, if you're talking about KDP, so it's a half manual process, I would say, because we are delivering an application that is running on Kubernetes. So our application does not have control over Kubernetes. And in order to do a backup, you would need to back up a persistent volume claim. You would need to make a snapshot of this of a volume. Our application can integrate with tools like Velero in order to schedule a volume snapshot. But if you are talking about disaster recovery and restoring a node from cluster 1 in cluster 2, you would need some manual way of transferring that persistent volume into the second cluster. So as KDP, we try to make this process for you as simple as possible, as automated as possible. But since our application is namespaced and it can download data from volume, we are limited to some processes, and those needs to be handled manually, like half manually. It's definitely much simpler to do with KDP rather than build it yourself, but interaction of a blockchain operator is needed. Because again, applications in Kubernetes, they don't have control over volumes, and you would need to transfer that volume somehow. The only thing that application can do with integration with a Velero operator, for example, is to schedule a snapshot, a regular snapshot of your node. That's what application can do. But the rest should be triggered by a user. I think that's it from my side. What's the next one?
Yeah, we also have a question from Alexander. Could you please describe the process how you make MSP and TLS certificates renewal, and do you have some sort of automation in your product?
Yes, so that's one of our features, MSP rotation and renewal. So let's go over what you need to renew, like what kind of certificates we have. We have it's called, we have signature, not signature, what was the word? We have sign-in identities for local MSP IDs. So for example, let's take a look at Peer. Peer has sign-in identity and TLS identity. What happens if we renew them? Basically nothing. If you make sure that renewed identity belongs to the same CA, it's fine, and you don't need to modify your ledger, because sign-in identity of a peer and TLS identity of a peer are not stored on the ledger. So you can renew them without any doubt. The second, we have orderer, and with orderer, it's a bit different story. So sign-in identity of an orderer can be rotated again easily, and you don't need to touch ledger. So what you need to do is to regenerate a certificate using whatever CA you have and restart your orderer. That's it. But with TLS identity is different story. I'm sure, I'm assuming that you are using Raft, and Raft requires TLS enabled, mutual TLS enabled, because of TLS pinning. It means TLS certificates are stored in the ledger in channel configuration. Thus, you would need to rotate them through channel configuration updates, and that's the part where it gets when it gets tricky. So how to rotate a consenter certificate. At one point of time, make sure you're rotating only one certificate. So and you would need to make sure that when this node goes down for a restart, for example, you wouldn't lose your quorum. So make sure you have enough nodes up and running. Only after that, start your renewal process. Although Hyperledger Fabric has some, they won't allow you to rotate. They won't allow you to rotate certificate if you don't have enough nodes. But nevertheless, make sure it's from your side. So you generate a certificate for an orderer, and if I'm not mistaken, you do not apply it on orderer. You do a channel update transaction. You run channel update transaction once it was accepted by orderers. You put it inside of orderer and restart node. After some time, like orderer is recognized with a new certificate and it's up and running. From our side, from side of KDVP, we are automating this process. The only thing you would need to do is basically 2 or 3 steps. First of all, you would need to go to a CA and generate new certificate and place the old one into certificate revocation list. Then go to a channel by channel, starting from a system one if you have, and channel by channel, you would need to rotate certificate. Of course, it depends on your policy on the channel. So if your policy on the channel does not allow you to endorse transaction only by yourself, meaning you have majority and number of organizations is bigger than 2, you would need to collect signatures from other participants. And that's where voting system that Jana was talking about becomes handy, because our voting system is basically a chain code that is that helps you to collect signatures among participants. So with our KDVP, certificate rotation process takes you like at most 20 clicks, and you would need to visit 3 modules, and that's the process. About MSP rotation, it's much simpler than rotation of consenters, because in order to rotate MSP certificate, you don't need to collect any signatures. MSP belongs to you, and you are the only one who is responsible for it. So you don't need to. You can endorse update transaction only by yourself, and it means what you need to do is generate new certificates, put them into MSP folder or whatever you have, and execute channel update transaction. So yeah, that's it. And I think guides for these processes are well described in Hyperledger Fabric documentation. I even remember like a topic, it's definitely Raft configuration, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Vlad. I saw that Kiran has a couple of questions. Kiran, would you like to come off the mute and ask them directly to Vlad? No, okay. Then I think we can just move on down to Tibor as well. Vlad, would you mind taking the Tibor's question as well?
Yes, but take me a few seconds.
So maybe I can meanwhile answer another question. There is an anonymous attendee asking about our partnership with Swift. If any organization wants to develop a product that may compete with Swift, how do we manage conflict of interest? So within our organization, we have different divisions, and there are services part and also product. So our team only works on product. That means that we do not build products for other organizations. And the use cases I mentioned, sometimes our colleagues participate in development of the projects for clients, but mainly I was talking about clients that purchased Catalyst blockchain platform to build projects on top of it. So we did not build their solutions. We provided management system for their blockchain network, if that answered the question. So we do not build a product that can compete with Swift.
Answering Tibor's question, it's about quantum computing. It's I heard first time I heard this question, it was like 2015, and we were learning DAML and digital asset, if I'm not mistaken, and everyone was asking like about quantum computing. So what I can tell you, yes, it's possible, but we are really far behind of this being used by enterprise companies and really by quantum computing adoption. So what we need to care of, I would say, is bugs like Java had a week ago with ECDSA algorithm. So basically, for 2 years, we were working with an algorithm in Java that allowed to bypass crypto security. That's the bigger problem, I would say, rather than upcoming quantum capacity. So I'm not that proficient in quantum computing, I would say, and I'm just telling that taking care of our current issues has a bigger importance rather than caring about quantum capacity, because if we would have a computer strong enough that can break any crypto algorithm, not only blockchain would be affected, right? And not only Hyperledger Fabric. What is Hyperledger Fabric? It's a distributed database with a bunch of crypto stuff on top of it and policies, right? So any application would be affected, not just Hyperledger Fabric. And it's a far broader topic, and I'm not an expert on that for sure. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Vlad. We are almost at the top of the hour, but we also have a question from YouTube. Anytus posted in a chat. So are you saying there could be single nodes potentially in the forms of devs with Hyperledger expertise that can be used to onboard and maintain large number of organization onboardings, asked by Ethan Mueller?
Yes, it's possible. And that's one of use cases we were considering with our client, because a client wanted to host all the infrastructure, but clients of our client were very small and they couldn't just host anything. So we were issuing MSP, like a unique MSPs with CAs, and adding those MSPs on a channel and invoking transactions on behalf of them. The only problem would be is endorsing policy, but it really depends on your use case. A lot of customers use Hyperledger Fabric with endorsement policy and it means they don't really care about data, not just consistency, but data security. They just use mostly Hyperledger Fabric for distribution, for data distribution. So yes, it's possible, but again, it's a trade-off. So if you don't host nodes, you don't control, you cannot be endorser, right? Because peer belongs only to a single MSP ID. What you can do, you can ask your customer to host a peer for you with your MSP ID. That's possible, yes.
A question from me, Thomas. Can we somehow take the rest of the questions offline? Maybe like follow up with the answers.
Yes, absolutely.
How to do this in the best way?
Yeah, The best way would be to use our Discord channel, which I will show immediately, or you are also welcome to contact us directly through our contacts. Here there are also contacts from Jana and Vlad, and you can contact them directly as well, or reach out to us through our Discord channel. We are at the top of the hour, so just a couple of more things. As mentioned, please join our Discord channel to get all of your questions answered. You can get answers to the Hyperledger projects, special interest groups, working groups, and much, much more. I would also like to invite you to join our future Hyperledger Foundation webinars. So on the May 4th, we are hosting CRIPSy, and they will be explaining how to simplify enterprise blockchain with CRIPSy Core. And on May 18th, we'll be hosting ChainYard, and they'll be talking about how to find business value in trust through blockchain. Last but not least, Hyperledger Global Forum is on. We're back live from September 12th to September 14th in Dublin, Ireland. Now registrations are opened, and you can also submit a proposal for a presentation or talk until April 29th. Please scan this. Please scan the QR code to get more information or visit our event page. For the follow-up questions that we were not able to get to, please use our Discord channel or contact also our panelists directly. Jana and Vlad, thank you so much for your time today and providing this jam-packed session full of very interesting information. And thank you everybody else for joining.
Thank you everyone. Well. Thank you, Thomas and Igor. Thank you. Looking
you.
forward to have conversations with you guys offline. Please feel free to email us or reach us on LinkedIn, yes. And we will make sure to follow up with your questions wherever you post them.
Yeah, and one problem that there's an error in a typo in my email, so please contact Jana. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.